Lubbock ISD tells us the state attorney general may have made a public announcement about an investigation, but it was never notified of one. Ken Paxton says he wants to make sure Lubbock ISD and some other districts are following state law requiring the display of the 10 commandments. Senate Bill 10 took effect in September, requiring donated copies of the commandments be seen in classrooms. Lubbock ISD says it's doing that. The attorney general is also requesting districts give proof of a board vote on the implementation of Senate Bill 11. That law requires trustees to vote on whether to implement a designated time for prayer and reading of the Bible or other religious texts. Lubbock ISD trustees voted that down in February, saying that there was already ample time for students to pray or read and no designated time was necessary. The district tells us it was unaware of any investigation until a press release came from the AG's office this morning, and it's following both laws.